my name is Beth Hiley here for BoardGameGeek at Gen Con Online. I'm here with Mark Spector from Grand Gamers Guild, and I'm really excited you guys did a collaboration with Burnt Island Games and yourself to release a new version of Endeavor, Age of Sail, I believe in 2018, and now this is the first big box expansion, the Age of Expansion. So I'm very delighted for you to give us a few details, see what this is all about.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, happy to answer questions and tell you all about all the things.
So let's assume that people, well, with one caveat, let's assume that people are familiar with Endeavor, that they've either played the base game or there's lots of materials on your website and BGG where they could go find out and learn about Endeavor. So we're going to just kind of dive in and look at what the expansion is going to bring with the understanding that people kind of know the base game already.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what's really cool about Endeavor Age of Expansion is that when you have the base game, you pretty much just take out a lot of the base game components and you pop in the expansion components in their place. And even though it's almost a one-for-one swap, it really does provide just a completely different experience. So the first thing I think that's worth going through is the building set, actually. So in the original game, you have that same tray that has 5x3 buildings, each in one of 5 different categories, or 3 buildings in 5 different categories that you're able to draft to your player mat based on your level of industry. And the higher your industry goes, the better building you're able to draft, and that is how you build your seaside over the course of a game. What's really amazing about the buildings is that it pretty much took all of the symbols and language from Endeavor Age of Sail and really just rejiggered them into a whole different pattern, and it makes for an entirely different experience. And what's also really cool is that when we issued Endeavor Age of Expansion, rather than create a whole new building set, we kind of repurposed the building set, and now all the buildings are double-sided. So you can actually just flip everything over and play with the base game, or you can play with the expansion. And it's pretty much noted by the backgrounds there, pretty distinct in my opinion. So yeah, same basic actions reorganized in an entirely different way, and you have the beginnings of an entirely new Endeavor experience. After that, you have the card decks. So around the board, the base game comes with card decks, Europe, all the 6 different regions, and then of course the infamous slavery deck. Almost all of those are swapped out, and once again, the symbols and the actions are all rejiggered. And of course, you can see there the Age of Expansion label on the bottom there. So all the actions are rejiggered and just put out in a different way that facilitates both the deck themselves. So each region, if you focus on, for instance, earlier this week, I played a game where against my kids, and I focused on the Far East. And so that was the path I was choosing, and the cards kind of build on one another. The other thing is they obviously all as a set sort of fit together, even though you can technically swap them out. And actually, if you would go ahead and turn over that one to the left, the Far East Age of Expansion, I can also point out, actually go to the 1 card and the 2 card if you don't mind. That's where some of the biggest differences start, and they begin to build your engine. So the 1 and the 2 card on every stack is distinct from the rest of the stack, in the sense that you see that first card there has a merchant fleet. One of the things that happens in the game based on your level of influence is it allows you at the number of cards you're able to keep your mat. But the merchant fleet allows you to stack cards and then take advantage of all their symbols, allowing you to build your engine faster and fiercer than you otherwise could. All of the 6 regions have that merchant fleet, and you just pop the other card on there. If you ever lose your merchant fleet card, you lose the card attached to it. If you put a slavery card on there and slavery is abolished, you lose the merchant fleet card as well. So that's the 1 level cards on each. And then you have the level 2 cards on each stack, which have the additional subsidy action. Now, a lot of people, it takes a while to understand this, I think, but that little bag of coins is a salary action. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to access a card a second time during a round, which is hugely powerful. In the original game,
Yeah.
and of course in the expansion, you use all the same tokens. And there's two tokens on the board that have that salary bag that allows you to clear a building and use it for a second time. Well, the subsidy building allows you to do that in the middle of a round also now, meaning that in this case with the Far East card, if I had already used a building that has a ship action on it, it would allow me, once I claim that card, to clear that card and then use it again. I'm sorry, clear that building and then use it again. So that's tremendous. It allows for, again, build that engine faster, play that round when you acquire that card that much harder, and really get an edge on your opponents. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, quite clear. So, and I think
All right,
the
good
thing
deal.
I've been most excited about is you also you gave your player boards a bit of a upgrade, refresh.
Oh yeah, the original Endeavor Age of Expansion had very nice components. Or rather, Endeavor had nice components. Endeavor Age of Sail was issued with some pretty spectacular player mats. Oh, and spectacular components overall.
Yes.
So, and then the other really big thing about, oh yeah, start player marker.
Yeah, definitely show that.
Pretty sweet paint jobs online of what people like to do to that. The other thing is, just going back to the cards real quick, is that the level 5 cards in each deck, I won't go into them individually, but all have some pretty powerful things that you can do with them. Again, it's all one-off stuff, so that it gives more impactful action throughout the game. So as you can see there with the Africa card, you get a bunch of symbols to elevate your tracks, and you get the Rosetta Stone, which is a once per turn action that is pretty spectacular. And again, all the level 5 cards have that in all the different regions. And then the game itself has some additional actions that weren't in the original game. Those are trade, fortify, and then conscription and mobilization. So, and I can go into those if you want me to. Otherwise, I don't know if you,
yes.
I feel like I'm just jawing here at you.
No. Hey, straight from the expert. That's what we want.
Yeah, it's not often people call me an expert, but thank you. I appreciate it. So let's talk about some of the new concepts, the new actions that you're given on the buildings. So one of the big ways to score points in Endeavor is by elevating your tracks. That's probably where 30 to 40% of your points are going to come from. And at the end of the game, if you look really closely at the player boards, there are only certain spots on a track that have the track symbol in them. And so, for instance, if I ended the game and my track marker was in the 9, I would have to bump that back to the 7 because that is where I would end up scoring that track at. And so there's a building in the game called the Bridge that gives you the trade ability. It allows you to take a token from your board and swap it with a token that is on the main game board, which allows you not only to strategize for certain things as you're entering the new round, but it also allows you to jockey to make sure you get those tracks where you need them to be for game end. Because you're talking about what could be a 2-point swing. And if that happens on one track, let alone 2 tracks, 3 tracks, Endeavor's a really tight game. In the game that I played with my kids earlier this week, I actually won. But my kids are pretty savage. I was at 94 points, and my son was right behind me at 87. And that really came back to just a couple of moves. So if I'd have had to drop back on a couple tracks and not really watch what I was doing, I would have lost the game. And my son is a shark, make no mistake. He loves to attack the heck out of me. It gives him a lot of personal pride. So that's a lot of fun. The next concept that's in Endeavor Age of Expansion that was actually introduced in Endeavor Age of Sail, but is really emphasized in Age of Expansion is Fortify. When you put out a city on the map, usually you take one of your population markers and you pop it into one of the fort-like structures. Some buildings give you the opportunity to fortify that now, which again is another tactic I used to thwart my son's attacks, because when you put a fortification below a city that you're claiming, that you're occupying, it means that in order to attack that city and take it over, it would take an additional population out of that player's harbor. And that's huge. Population is what gives you the ability to take your actions all very large thing. Also, the other thing is, if you're familiar with the Endeavor board, there are a lot of points scored based on connections. And if you lose a crucial connection between two other places that you occupy and can claim points for, that could be a 3, 4, 5 point swing. Again, huge in a game that is as tight as Endeavor comes down to. So having that fortification there and occupying a key city that is serving to connect two other places that you occupy for point scoring purposes is pretty tremendous. And I definitely used the fortifications to my to big advantage earlier this week.
Well, and I want to.
That makes sense.
Nikki brought it. Yep, Nikki brought it very briefly on camera, and I would love for her just to grab that first player token again as well, because make sure we get some love for that. And if people aren't familiar with the original game, it was this really nice, like chunky wooden crown that has now been replaced with this glorious 3D mold.
Yeah, I think you're generous in saying that it was a good first player marker. It was definitely big and chunky, but it definitely did not have the nuance or the elegance that that crown has. We're super proud of that, and obviously the folks who did the graphic design did a spectacular job.
Yeah.
Yep, that is the industry marker from the deluxe edition, a stack of bricks, the culture marker, and then you have the salary marker, and then if it will show up on camera because it's blue, you have the shield influence. So yeah, you can see the shield shape. But there you go. You squint now, you can see it.
You can see the shape that the shield would occupy.
That, even though the player mats are automatic, and so we're not redoing those, if you're a person who likes to bling out your games and you bought Endeavor Age of Sail at a retail, we have all the bling that's available. The wooden tokens, the velvet draw bag, all the plastic bits are all available. And I know that the BoardGameGeek store actually has plastic trade tokens, which are really sweet looking. So whatever your sensibility is like, if you like the wood, if you like the resin / plasticky thing with that beautiful swirl in it, you can acquire those either at the Grand Gamers Guild website or at the BoardGameGeek store. I'm pretty sure you guys still have them in stock.
Yes, we have plenty.
So yeah, Endeavor is a game that can definitely be blinged out, bringing that Euro to life.
And what I think is interesting about this expansion, which you had said right at the beginning of this interview, is because you were swapping out components, while this really brings a completely different feel to some of your strategy and your decision making, it's not extending the length of the game at all because you've swapped out rather than added to.
Yep, I'll be honest. I feel like the game I played earlier this week with my kids, who by this time are pretty much Endeavor experts, I think it went even faster. I could not believe actually how quickly, because they've played Age of Sail a number of times. First time playing Age of Expansion, I wanted to get some ground under me because I knew I was doing this and it had been a while. But they glommed onto it straight away. And they're 15 and 13 years old, meaning that, and they're experienced gamers, but just goes to show that if you're familiar with the language of Endeavor, if you've played the base game a bunch of times before, and which still has so much game to explore with the exploits and the different strategies and the way the board is laid out, I mean, that you can jump into Age of Expansion and have just put on a whole new veneer, have a totally new experience with a game whose mechanics are second nature to you.
Yeah. Now, you guys had done a Kickstarter to get this, to get Age of Expansion, which I believe is either just finishing fulfillment or just on the tail ends of that now. So if people weren't able to get this through the Kickstarter, how would they be able to get their hands on it now? As soon as connection comes back. There we go.
Definitely derailed our fulfillment a little bit, but I'm pretty sure 99% of people have their games right now. But yeah, if you still want Endeavor Age of Expansion, the retail version is available in all your local game stores. Should be out there right now, and we definitely believe in supporting local. If you, however, do not have access to a friendly local game store, you can go to the Grand Gamers Guild website, or you can go to Island Game website and order it there. The ones we're selling from there are the deluxe edition, and so those actually will come with the Seize Your Fate, the Dominium mini expansions, which are also available for separate purchase, but just more little tiny modules that go into the game to add flavor and zest to a familiar experience.
Yeah, and I was wondering if you might, because Age of Expansion is the first big box, if you happen to know them off the top of your head, I'd love if you could just kind of recite through the names of some of the other mini expansions, so if people are sort of saying, "Oh, I want all the things," they can
Sure,
write down a few of
sure,
these
not a problem.
titles.
So the first mini expansion is called Charter Companies, and it is a sheet of 6 new buildings. If you're familiar with Endeavor, you know that most of the time you'll claim buildings based on your industry level, but the charter companies allow you to claim buildings based on your presence in an area. So once you have 6 presence in an area, during the building selection phase, once you have 6 presence in an area, instead of collecting building from the regular player trade, you can take it from one of the charter companies where you have that presence. That one's been out and about and is also available for purchase on the web. Um, and that was issued with Endeavor Age of Sail. And then the 2 new mini expansions, which we really sell as one, but one is called Dominium and the other is called Seize Your Fate. And these, again, they're all really modular. You can put everything in, or you can just cherry pick what you like and pop it into the game to put a little bit of a polish on a particular gameplay, add a little bit of variety. So charter companies, Dominium, and Seize Your Fate. And again, Dominium and Seize Your Fate are come together really, even though they're 2 separate things that can be put into the game on their own.
Yeah. I'm wondering too if we might look at Endeavor a little bit more broadly. This game originally was published back in 2009. You guys got the license for it, I believe, in like about 2016, 2017, somewhere in there.
Yep.
What was the development process like to take a game that was fairly well established, but then try and refine it, distill it down, both in terms of artwork or tweaking the rule set a little bit? I wonder if you just can speak any to that process of breathing new life into something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, Endeavor had been around since 2009. It was very highly regarded. Jarrett and Carl put together a game that was so mechanically tight. And every time I play it, I am amazed again at the story arc and how it plays out. And so you can actually wonder how could it be tightened up further? How could it be made better? So the driving goal with the with a Euro from 2009 was basically to say, okay, where are the rough edges here, and how can we sand them all? And so everything that was done was made to sort of amp up and accelerate gameplay just a bit. So I'll give you 2 examples. The first thing is that on the card stacks, the first card in every stack gives you in the Endeavor Age of Sail set of cards gives you an additional population. Population is key to occupying buildings, which is then key to taking actions. So giving all the players an extra population when they claimed a card that otherwise wasn't the most powerful was a nice little bonus. So it allows you to do more things faster. Another thing are the double action buildings, where you would have a building that allowed you to, for instance, build and ship. In the past edition, you would have to do those in region, but in the new edition, you could do them in 2 separate regions. And that was important because very often a region would be too crowded for you to actually take both actions in the same region. And then you were essentially wasting an action. And that slowed down gameplay, feels kind of crappy, you know? So the ability to take those 2 actions in 2 separate spots just moved the game faster. And there wasn't any reason not to do that. The other really significant big change was because, you know, people complain Euros are dry, Euros have no theme. You know, I want to play something where, you know, the theme really comes through, is with the exploits, which are not really, I don't know, you call them a mini expansion or a mega expansion or whatever the case may be. Endeavor is a pretty robust game without them, but the exploits allowed us to bring in the actual history as part of the gameplay. And so those are 15 placards that come with the game. If you choose to play with them, you randomly pull in 3, and they tie 2 regions together that also explains the history between those 2 regions. And so, for instance, if an exploit has a ship action on it and a draw action on it, the placard gives a little bit of history. And then when you use a building with a ship action, if you have the ability to, you can take the ship action that's noted there. If you have the ability to draw, you take the draw action that's noted there. And so, again, the story more robustly. It gave the players more options of how to use the various actions towards the end of the game. And so those were the major changes that went into Endeavor Age of Sail. In terms of your question or your statement about the art, we were really lucky to have the same artist and graphic designer on the job, Josh Capel. The original Endeavor was beautiful. I think it is with no dispute that Endeavor Age of Sail and Endeavor Age of Expansion are even more beautiful. They're just, I mean, time and again, we are told how proud people are to display it on their shelves. And when you break it open and put it on the table, it's just a gorgeous game.
I remember when you guys first announced it, I think maybe it was the Stroop. I was trying to remember what game it was from Grand Gamers Guild that you guys were on camera with me, and you had a poster of the what the board cover was going to be for Age of Sail, and you're just like, we have an announcement.
Yeah. So
and the reaction, we got from just that. Yeah.
Yeah, you were my host back then too.
Yes. Yes, we've been paired up quite a few times over the years.
All to my benefit, and I appreciate
that. We had a little hiccup with your audio earlier, and the chat was just wondering if you wouldn't mind repeating the 3 mini expansions one more time for everyone.
Sure. So Charter Companies, Dominium, and Seize Your Fate. And again, Dominium and Seize Your Fate come together, but they are two separate things that you can put in the game on their own.
Yeah. There was also a comment in the chat too, wondering if there was ever a plan to bundle some of the rule sets from some of these little mini expansions and modules into the larger rule book, just so you kind of had one-stop shopping when you're going to, try to find all that little. So maybe that's just a notation for later.
I'll say this. It might be part of the plan now. So it's probably not a bad idea. So at least maybe to get them all in one sheet. We can definitely talk to our graphic designer about that.
There you go. See, this is the beauty of having a live chat while we're doing this.
That's right. You talk right to the source, you get results. I mean, it might take time, but eventually we'll get you results.
Well, Mark, in the last couple minutes we have left, was there anything else that you wanted to share that's happened, news coming up, or any details you want to share or are able to share from Grand Gamers Guild for the rest of 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to pump a few different things. So first, let me say that Endeavor partner, Burnt Island Games, will be relaunching their game Into Deep come September. It's a gorgeous, beautiful game where you are infiltrating gangs and mobsters and making sure you don't go over the edge and become one of them yourself. So that's coming from Burnt Island Games to Kickstarter in September. And then from Grand Gamers Guild, we will be launching Endangered New Species, which will feature up to 6 new species. That's going to be hitting Kickstarter on Tuesday, the 11th of August. So in just about a week and a half now. And now I'm going to give you a scoop that I have not mentioned anywhere else. Okay, I am super excited to announce an 18-card escape room game that we're going to be publishing called The Kringle Caper. It will be available for pre-order in the 3rd quarter and will be in your Christmas stockings in time to break out on Christmas morning and play an 18-card escape room game with your family. So that is a game that came together just last week. And I'm super excited to be able to turn it around really quickly and announce it here. And we're not doing Kickstarter. It's just going to be a straight pre-order. And it's going to be really sweet. Oh, and to be fair, I apologize. The designer is Jonathan Schaffer of Stroop fame. So that'll be the Kringle Caper. So
wow, that's what it...
Into Deep, Endangered New Species, and the Kringle Caper.
Kringle Caper sounds fascinating, like a little micro game of the challenge of keeping under 20-25 cards and a once-off at the same time. That's quite the double challenge there.
Yeah, it's been very well play tested. Anyone who's played Stroop knows that Jonathan is a really precise guy. He's all about the puzzle. I mean, he solves puzzles, he designs puzzles. When Stroop came to me, it was pretty much fully formed in terms of gameplay and mechanics. And that's just the kind of guy Jonathan is. He doesn't present a game to a publisher unless it's ready for prime time. And so to have this come to fruition over the past week or so and to know that I can turn it around in time for the holidays is really exciting.
Well, Mark, it's a delight as always to have you on camera. I feel
Thank
like we
you.
should just, make this an annual tradition. If you guys are interested in what we just looked at, this was the first big box expansion to Endeavor Age of Sail. This is Endeavor Age of Expansion, which is handy that the word expansion is in the title. It is an expansion. And this is Mark Spector from... I know, right? And this is Mark Spector from Grand Gamers Guild, and thank you again.